sustainability, innovation, those are sort of the middle names of the European Union. When you think about the EU, one of the things that comes to mind is the Green Deal. So the Green Deal is Europe's program where Europe will become climate neutral, so carbon neutral by 2050. That is a massive undertaking. It means that we will have to live differently, transport differently, we will have to insulate our homes, our houses, everything in order to become carbon neutral by 2050. Of course, it doesn't make sense if you do that only by yourself, if Europe becomes carbon neutral, because this is a global problem. So we work with all the countries in the world in order to innovate and in order to promote sustainable practices. The theme for IBC 25 is building bridges. Well, building bridges and Global Gateway sort of go in the same direction. So let me remind you what the Global Gateway is about again. So the Global Gateway is an approach, a strategy that the EU is rolling out all over the world. And this is about trying to promote economic growth by recognizing the centrality of the private sector. So it is promoting private sector-led growth, and of course we don't mind if that is the European private sector. So instead of building a bridge and funding it with, say, 10 million euros, or building a school or a hospital, what we will now increasingly do is use that 10 million to leverage bigger private sector-led investments. Let me give you an example. In Guyana, we're doing this with the pharmaceutical sector. So in order to attract private sector investments in the pharmaceutical sector, you need to have a regulatory environment in place. Well, that's not very sexy. The private sector doesn't like to put their money into creating a regulatory environment, but it is absolutely crucial. So we're doing that. We're putting our money in, and together with the government of Guyana, we are making sure there is a regulatory environment which will then allow the private sector to come in and to build factories here in Guyana that will produce medicines. So I think that is a great example of how the Global Gateway can work. And we are very eager to take that to other sectors as well. So we are working on the whole area of digitalization. Guyana signed the EU, Latin America and the Caribbean Digital Alliance. So together with about 20 countries, Guyana is now part of that digital alliance. And through that, we are promoting digital, say the digital revolution, if you like, the digital transition. And the EU is very good in doing that in such a way that it benefits people. The digital transition is not about technology, it is about making sure that people benefit from these developments. So pharmaceuticals, digitalization, forest is a very important one. So we are working very closely with the government to make sure that we also use innovative approaches there where we can exploit the forest in a sustainable manner. So as a few examples of how the Global Gateway works for Guyana. The last 3 years, since I'm here, I've really done a lot to bring Guyana to Europe and to bring Europe to Guyana. And I will be honest, it was not always easy to convince European private sector to start to look at Guyana as a place to invest. And that is partially because there are so many interesting opportunities much closer to Europe. So I think it is a missed opportunity for European companies if they don't recognize Guyana as a destination to invest. And I think it's a missed opportunity for Guyana if they're not able to attract European private sector. I also think that Guyana could look more east. You're very much looking north, and that's fully understandable. So there is a very strong link with the United States, with Canada. Of course, you're part of the Americas. But if you look east, indeed, you will see the European Union, and you will see a market of 450 million people that are very eager to buy sustainably sourced and build products And as I keep saying, the EU has no tariffs. So Guyana can export to the European Union tariff-free, quota-free for now and for the near future, because that is not going to change. I talked a little bit about what we're doing already with pharmaceuticals. That is a very active program. We are doing that. We have people on the ground that are working with the Guyanese authorities to make that happen. So that is a very exciting development. We had last month a mission from Europe with a dozen companies in the health and pharmaceutical sector. They were thrilled about the opportunities in Guyana. They all left with either contracts in their pocket or the prospect of having contracts. So I think that it was a very successful mission we had. We're looking now at the possibility of bringing Guyanese entrepreneurs to Europe to look at agriculture and agricultural processing, because we think that there is a real opportunity for European companies to come closer to Guyana. So there is a lot that is happening. When you think about Europe, you think about food processing in Italy, you think about port management in the port of Rotterdam or the port of Antwerp, you think about steel and iron from Germany, you think about high-tech pharmaceutical and health technologies from Spain. So there is so much happening there, all supported by high-level research centers and universities, that I would really like to see a much closer alignment between those research institutions and universities and the private sector in Europe, and indeed Guyana, as I think we have each other to offer a lot. Global Gateway is all about building bridges, right? It is about connecting countries, connecting people, connecting Europe, in this case, to Guyana. So thinking about a very nice potential Global Gateway project is the bridge between Guyana and Suriname. So that bridge can, of course, be just a cold piece of infrastructure, iron and steel connecting two countries. I think the EU has a lot of experience to turn such a piece of infrastructure in something that works for people, because you need to have effective custom regulations. You want to be safe and secure that whatever you transport over that bridge is not something that you do not want to have in your country. So turning that into a functioning piece of infrastructure that works for both people in Suriname and Guyana, that would really be an interesting Global Gateway project. My message to the global leaders is, do not miss this opportunity. Guyana has set off on an incredible trajectory with phenomenal economic growth, but being respectful for nature and its people. And I think that is a real example where everyone should be part of. So don't miss this opportunity.